Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of F1 2021, my team career mode for Cross GT Racing. We are finally back to proper uploading. I did upload a video earlier in the week after a bit of a hiatus away. I had recorded some episodes before that, but I just didn't have time to edit them. So it's been a while since I've been back into proper racing and editing, but we're finally back. We're back into actually playing the game, editing the videos, and uploading them to YouTube. Thank you for coming back. If you are back, let's head straight into the video. So we did have to get some renew some sponsors. We did get one brand new sponsor. We're also going to be taking a grid penalty in the next Grand Prix, which is the Russian Grand Prix at Sochi. We are taking some grid penalties in the races that we, or at least I know that I can do reasonably well at, so that later on in the season we don't have to worry too much about taking too many more grid penalties in the harder races. Off to Russia now, getting ready for qualifying. Not much that we can do with the car. At this point we've already upgraded most of the stuff. We're just starting to try and max out the chassis department and build up some cash and try and get the car ready for next season, when we'll have a proper run with hopefully an almost maxed out car and really go for some championship wins, as we are on to our best lap in qualifying. So this is lap 4. Took a little bit of getting used to the track again, but the car seems to be running really well. We did just come off a win in Monza at the Italian Grand Prix, so hopefully we can convert that performance into a win here today, or at least a good points finish, as we're making some decent time. We're keeping pace with our previous Sector 1 time. We do go green just, which is good. We are reasonably consistent through Sector 1.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
So we've got 2 laps of fuel left. So car's not quite as light as I would want it to be, but we're running reasonably well, so I'm pretty happy with it. We're currently sitting P1 at this point, although at this point in the session some of the sort of front runner cars haven't really put in like overly competitive laps, and they usually get a bit better as the sessions go on. As we go purple through Sector 2, we're 8 tenths up on a previous time. Sector 3 is the time where I was losing sort of some traction or just missing my lines a bit, so Sector 3 is the part we're going to be able to make the biggest gains, as we have a good run around the final couple of corners, a lot better than I normally take, and we do a 1:30.5 fastest lap. We do manage to hold on to that 8 tenths ahead of Verstappen, who does improve his time. Coulthard back down in P12, 2.2 seconds off us. But we are taking a grid penalty. We did take a different control electronics component for this race, so we'll be starting a little bit further down the order, but I'm confident we can still come away with a decent result here and maybe a few extra points for the tally.
Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea, and a race that has historically been dominated by the Silver Arrows. Mercedes have won here 6 times since the first race in 2014. Can someone else muscle in on that record here today? It's time to go racing then in the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6 mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Pierre Gasly, the captain, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Norris and Carlos Sainz, Russell, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Stroll, Giovinazzi, Schwartzman, Nicholas Latifi and Guan Yu Zhou, Lundgaard, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin and David Coulthard. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So starting P6 here today, Coulthard also taking a grid penalty now. He'll be starting back at the back of the grid, P22. Another one-stop race this race, tyre wear upgrades, allowing us to do this almost every single race now. Softs to hard, so going to try and get ahead of our competition here. Off and away for the Russian Grand Prix here in Sochi. A somewhat decent start. We managed to maintain position. Ricardo is coming up along the outside of us.
Where on the ICE, be aware that we will start to see a loss of power.
Okay, so ICE wear, which we already knew about, we've sort of opted to not take a new component, a new ICE, or at least change it for this race. I still feel like we can do a decent job with the wear. It's not a huge amount, but it is probably going to cause some issues further down the track. But for today, it will be fine as we managed to get ahead of Gasly. We also managed to make a move on Hamilton, heading into turn 2. We're now up into P4 as we're trying now to make a move on Bottas, but the Mercedes and the two Red Bulls ahead of him, the fastest cars, are on paper, so going to be a little bit harder to catch up to them, but we're no slouches ourselves. Looking at a move up the inside on Bottas there, but thought better of it, a bit further behind than I would like to be. And it's only lap 1. We don't need to make any rash decisions or any poor moves, just to try and get some early places. As we're now up alongside Bottas, go up the inside, he gives us the space, and we're up into P3 by the end of the first lap. We've now got the two Red Bulls to contend with, but as you can see, they're already pulling away. ERS to try and catch up to them. We do gain a little bit of time on them, but our strength is definitely our ability to go through the corners and accelerate out of them. Straight line speed, not our biggest strength, but we can mitigate that by taking the corners well and sticking to the racing line and just maximising our acceleration out of those corners as we go purple through sector 1, following along closely behind Verstappen, really pushing the limits of the track here. As we miss our line, a little bit of hesitation there, we lose a bit of time to Verstappen, but again, just hitting those apexes and accelerating out earlier than these Red Bulls is giving us the edge. A little bit of a skip there in the recording. I'm not sure why that was happening, but it did happen in my last recording as well. I think at Monza we also had some skips, so sorry if that causes any issues. But we've gone purple through sector 1 and sector 2, so it's caused no issues for our driving, thankfully. Coming around the final corner, we take out the bollard. We do get the fastest lap of the race so far. So purple through sectors 1 and 2, green through sector 3, DRS activated, 350 kilometers an hour down to turn 2. And we managed to make a nice move on Verstappen. We squeeze him out. P2, we're now 7 tenths ahead of Verstappen and 7 tenths behind his teammate Sergio Perez, sandwiched between two Red Bulls. The pressure's on. We go red through sector 1 after that move on Verstappen cost us some time, but we're still making some gains on Perez as we go wide through that corner there, which gives Perez a little bit of a breather, takes the pressure off him a little bit. But a couple of corners later, we're right back on him. DRS ready to go. Can we make a move on Perez here? He squeezes us to the outside of the track. But we make quick work of him as we go purple through sector 2. He takes a look up the inside. We do leave quite a bit of space there, missing our line, but we manage to stay ahead. P1 now as we head towards the end of the third lap here in Russia. We've just got to hold on to this until we can get onto our medium compound tyres. This track, from my limited experience, as we get another fastest lap. Purple sector 3 giving us another fastest lap. And we managed to maintain a second gap to Perez, keeping him out of DRS range for the next couple of laps. Although we did have a bit of a disaster in those laps there, falling off the pace by quite a bit. No DRS, so the tyres are definitely wearing out quite quickly here. As I was saying before, from my experience in this track, this is very much a medium compound favoured track. As we brake late, we lock up the brakes and we go almost straight on. And we lose a ton of time, and now Perez is right on us, and Verstappen is coming up alongside him. So now not only do I have two Red Bulls behind me vying for my position, but they're also battling each other right behind me. One wrong move and it could spell disaster for not just myself, but for all three of us, really. Oh, and something's happened there. Verstappen has managed to get ahead of Perez and Gasly as well. It looks like, from what I could tell, Perez was trying to make a move up the inside of me, and it's cost him 2 positions, although he has gotten back in front of Gasly. But that has cost him a lot of time. Verstappen now second behind us. He should have DRS because he was within the second to us. But Perez is now 1.5 seconds behind him, or behind us. So he's dropped a mile behind us. And now we have Verstappen to contend with, who I think will probably be a little bit harder to defend against than Perez. You know, Verstappen a little bit more reckless, a little bit more willing to push the boundaries. So it's going to be pretty tough keeping him behind. All we've got to do is make sure we hit our lines though, and the car will take care of the rest. As we circle around towards the final corner here, lock up on the wheels. 5 seconds off our fastest lap, so the tyres are definitely starting to drop off. Grip levels starting to drop. We're definitely not having as much speed as we were having before. We don't brake as much there, really pushing the track limit boundaries there. Just try and make sure we don't have Verstappen or Perez behind us. So Verstappen is in the pits. So Verstappen's gone into the pits. Early pit stop for him, which has pushed Perez back up in the second. Gasly again in the podium, up in the points. After that second place finish last round, he's now knocking on the podium door again here in Russia. AlphaTauri having an excellent couple of rounds so far. Hamilton and Bottas taking 4th and 5th, so Mercedes still dominating the constructors. Hamilton ahead of his teammate, who is currently leading the Drivers' Championship at the moment. We give Perez a bit of room with DRS to go ahead. We do have a quick little look up the inside there, but end up locking up the brakes and giving him the space to go around, so we've now dropped back to P2. But no need to try and fight him off early on in the race. We've been able to maintain a decent pace to these guys, so we should be able to keep pace with them now. Alright, so pit window is open. The softs are pretty much done. I don't really think we can get much out of them. So going on to the mediums, probably our best bet at this point. We are maintaining some pace with Perez. I would assume his tyres are probably in the same sort of boat as mine. He has pulled away a little bit though, 1.3 seconds, so maybe his tyres aren't so bad. Maybe our tyres are a lot more worn out, as we have Gasly now breathing down our necks. We give him the space as well, but it doesn't look like he's going to have enough time to make it. He does just get around the outside of us. No need for us to push now, as we're going to be heading into the pits as we lock up the wheels. So that's definitely going to help the tyres, but the grip levels are completely shot. So now is definitely the perfect time for us to go into the pits and go on to some medium compound tyres. Heading into the pits, currently effective P3 in this race.
Exit now.
Decent pit stop there as we head out of the pit lane.
We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
So full speed we come out. P20 Verstappen is ahead of us now on his medium compound tyres. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up once the rest of the pack heads into the pits. And the power of the medium compound tyres in this track already showing, as we've already managed to get past Verstappen. Definitely a medium compound favoured track, as Verstappen makes another move back on us. Contact, well, no front wing damage, luckily, just some minor contact on that back wheel. I'm pretty sure there was also a little bit of contact on the side when he tried to make that overtake. Again, a little nudge on that back wheel. Just keeps him in front of us. DRS activated. We're all on a DRS train. Slipstream, we get squeezed to the outside. We get around the outside of Verstappen. We get caught behind Lundgaard. He leaves the space. And we managed to take 2 positions there in that DRS section of the track. Oh, a little bit of a slide as we just clip the curb and lose traction there. But we managed to make quick work of Guan Yu Zhou, who is looking to come into the pits now, I would assume.
They've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring.
So Sainz has retired up ahead. And an illegal overtake on Latifi there, so we have to give the position back.
Green flag.
Which we do, and Leclerc comes out of the pits right next to us. Gasly in P9, so Gasly's gone in for his stop, and he's now ahead of us. Hamilton also ahead of us, going in for his stop. So at this point here, I would say, as we lock up the tyres, lock up the brakes, and we go almost straight on, lose some time to Gasly, currently sitting P10. It looks as if Perez and Bottas are still looking to go into the pits. We're going to take a look at this here. So I see the yellow flag there as I go past Latifi, but we're already in a yellow flag section, which is why I had to give the position back. And we almost cut off Leclerc there. We tried to go up the inside, but we have a better line, and we managed to keep that position. But yeah, just wasn't paying attention to where the caution was. We ended up passing Latifi just as we were getting up to the yellow flag marker, which cost us some time and could potentially cost us some points in this race, as most of the drivers have gone in for their pit stops. As Gasly locks up the wheels, and that just leaves enough space for us to go through and take that position. P9 now, as we go purple through sector 2 up onto the curb. We're following along behind Hamilton now, as it looks like Perez and Bottas have both headed into the pits. And it looks like at this point we're going to be sitting, as we now trying to make a move on Hamilton with DRS. DRS activated, we go around the outside of Hamilton. And we're now sitting P2. Coulthard is in P1. I didn't even know he was up there. Started the race back in P22. He must have started on the mediums. because I never saw him at all. Because we just get a new fastest lap, so definitely the mediums are the best tyre for this track. We do a 1:33.5, which is I think almost as quick as our qualifying pace. It was almost a qualifying lap on medium compound tyres. Track evolution probably playing quite a big role in that.
You've lost some time to the car behind.
Okay, so we have lost a little bit of time to Hamilton. Bottas behind him, P4. Gasly still in the top 5. Still in the points, in the big points. Coulthard, his tyres are definitely wearing in now. We've managed to gain about 5 seconds on him in the last 2 or 3 laps. So his tyres are pretty worn out at this point. We don't want to make any reckless moves here though, and sabotage his race or our own race for that matter. But yeah, his car's wobbling a bit, so it looks like he's definitely going to be looking to go into the pits sooner rather than later. As it looks like he gives a bit of space, but he comes out across a little bit of heat there from Coulthard. I don't know if he went to give us the space and then decided to take it back, or mix up in team orders, but almost collided there before we went into the DRS section. We give Coulthard DRS, which gets him back in front, which actually helps him out a bit. Doesn't really slow us down too much. But yeah, his car is definitely not where it should be, as he is now heading into the pits. No, he's not. So he's staying out again for another lap, but he is all over the place. Those tyres have definitely seen better days. I don't know if that was a smart idea of keeping him out. So maybe we should have got him to go back in. It looks like he's trying to go defensive on us there. And what he should be doing is just letting us go. Because now Hamilton and Bottas are now within DRS range. Even Gasly is. All within a second of us now, and we had a clear second gap. Or a bit over a second gap between ourselves and Hamilton. And Coulthard has kind of just slowed us down. And he hasn't really slowed them down. It's now a second, back to over a second between ourselves and Hamilton. Coulthard back in P3. And it looks like, I can only assume he's probably going to end up giving up positions to Bottas and Gasly. But hopefully he can hold them up a bit. Lap 18 now, so Coulthard has made his pit stop. And he's now moved back to the back of the grid. We are currently sitting P1, Hamilton P2, Bottas P3, Perez and P4, Gasly P5. Verstappen, who was ahead of me after I came out of the pits, is still a little bit further down the order, down the bottom of the top 10, I would say. So I don't know what's happened there with him. I don't know if maybe he's just been caught up in traffic. But the other Red Bull out of the main points at the moment, we are slowly making some gains. Well, extending that gap we have over Hamilton. 1.7 seconds now the gap, as our medium compound tyres are definitely found our groove at the moment. Tyre temps I think is pretty good. I'm not too fussed about tyre temps. Grip levels are good. These tyres have really come into their own, and they're giving us a healthy lead at this point. Last couple of corners. 18 laps down. 2/3 of the race done. We've got 9 laps left. And from here the gap just grows. 3 seconds now the gap to Bottas, who managed to get ahead of his teammate. We do lose a bit of time. And then we end up locking up the wheels there. Line was off. We braked too late. We went straight on. And now we have opened up the door for the 2 Mercedes drivers to catch up. Bottas now only 1.2 seconds behind. after only a lap ago being over 3 seconds behind us. So some big mistakes being made, which is costing us a lot of time. 22 laps down, 5 to go. Bottas is now in DRS range, so now we have to fight. We're going to have to try and defend this position, especially down this really long DRS straight.
5 laps of fuel remaining.
Gives us a ton of room to either gain time or lose time, and Bottas is gaining massive amounts of time. He is now right behind us, and Hamilton is not too far behind either, but we do get some good runs out of these corners, going a little bit wide on some of them, but the acceleration of these corners is definitely what's keeping us that little bit further ahead of the rest. As Jeff said before, 5 laps of fuel left, so just enough fuel to get us to the end of the race, as long as we don't push the car too much. Hopefully we can maybe, if we do get past, get some DRS to get some of that fuel back. So we definitely know we've got enough heading into the final lap. And we've had some contact with, it looks like we've had contact with Bottas, and part of the car went flying past us. Not quite sure what happened there. Potentially trying to make a move on us. And he is now dropping behind at a rate of knots. He's now 2 seconds behind us. And it does look like he is heading into the pits for some damage. I can only assume some front wing damage there. 2 seconds to gap now to Hamilton. So we managed to get out of jail there as we go back and take another look. So we held our line, and then Bottas just looked for a move. A little bit of indecision, and he loses that side pod. Well, not the side pod, but just the side of his front wing. There we go. He just a little bit of indecision there. Late braking, and he just went straight into the back right rear, the right rear tyre. And that is such a small part of that front wing, but it's caused so much so many problems. Almost no downforce. He has to slow right down to make all those corners, and not only has it affected him as we go wide at the final corner. So not only has it caused him problems, but it also slowed down the rest of those front runners enough to give me a decent gap. 3 laps to go now, and Hamilton is now right on our tail. We managed to keep him at bay. 6 tenths to gap now, but the AI always really quick around this long left-hander, and he's already gained 2 tenths on us just in that one corner. But we're managing to hold on. He's within DRS range, but I think we've got a decent gap ahead of him that we can just hold him out enough that he just can't make a move on us. As we run a little bit wide there, locking up the brakes. It's definitely not going to help the tyre wear, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of holding on here at the end of this race. Another little lock up there on the brakes. 2 laps to go. Hamilton 8 tenths behind us. We're going to be using as much of our battery as we can now to try and stay ahead. The DRS is giving him such a massive boost. He's managed to cut the gap down by the end of that straight down to 4 tenths. And now we've got, I can only assume, is I think it's Mick Schumacher ahead of us. As Hamilton is trying to make a move. We go late on the brakes, a bit of a lock-up. He's now right there. Perez is right behind him. Gasly also within that second gap to us. Now we're pushing the car as much as we can. Hopefully Schumacher can slow these guys down a little bit as he gives us the space, but it looks like he's also had to give up the space to, I think he's given it to Hamilton as well. Hamilton and Perez have both gone ahead of him.
Final lap of the race.
8 tenths the gap now. Final lap of the race. Can we hold on for just one more lap after?
Time to the car behind. Keep pushing.
after we've held on for so long in this race. Wide again at turn 2, which we've done most laps, but because we're not using the accelerator, we're not getting any penalties for it. But we finally get one, a track limit warning on the final lap. We've got a 1 lap of fuel left, so we're as light as we could be. Half a lap to go. We go purple through sector 1 this lap. 9 tenths ahead of Hamilton. He's going to have DRS, but it's probably not going to be enough. We have a decent gap to him. Hard on the brakes, a little bit of a lock-up. All we've got to do is ease through these last few corners. And just hold on, we've depleted our battery for this lap. So no more ERS. 8 tenths, 9 tenths to get. Now we're pulling away from Hamilton a little bit. Final 2 corners. As we come around the final turn and across the start finish line for another victory.
Team effort. Thanks to all the boys.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
So there we have it, another race win. 2 in a row now. Coulthard getting driver of the day here in Russia.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today and the results speak for themselves.
The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
So another race win here in Russia. This season we've managed to get, I think that's what, 4 wins now this season. We're managing to rack up some points in this middle part of the season. So we started P6, we managed to get 25 points. We do lose the fastest lap to Bottas, who ended up doing a 1:32.4. I think that was the last lap he did that one, because I'm pretty sure we had the fastest lap right up to the end there. So he managed to pull out a 1 second, over a second faster lap than anyone else. We did 1:33, he did a 1:32. We now managed to clear Verstappen by 19 points, who, I don't know what happened to him, but he didn't have a very good race at all. Did manage to get some points, but we managed to now cement ourselves in 3rd. We're now only 28 points behind Bottas, who is only 11 points ahead of his teammates. So the battle between the 2 Mercedes drivers is starting to heat up. Not 11 points in it after Hamilton gained the 2nd place finish today. We are sitting comfortably in P3 in the constructors at the moment. Mercedes still well ahead of Red Bull. It's going to take a massive effort for them to catch back up with any hopes of trying to take the constructors title. But with both Mercedes drivers P1 and P2 in the drivers standings, I don't know if they're really going to have much of a chance of gaining that ground back. But things are looking good for us as we've just finished our rivalry with Sergio Perez. A massive acclaim boost for us. 25 points from this race weekend. Another race victory. Maximum earnings from this race thanks to all of our sponsors. We did take some deductions from for car damage, but we are starting to fill up the accounts quite nicely, which we're going to need because we still have some Spec 3 upgrades we need to make to some facilities, to the powertrain facility and the durability facility. And we are also looking ahead to next season. But now our goal, I think our goals changed a little bit. Before it was, we're just trying to finish as high as we can. Try and make sure we get plenty out of this car this season. Really build it up, ready for next season. but now we're P3 in the drivers, and we're only 28 points behind Bottas. If, you know, some good results in these last few races, we could be in with a chance at a drivers' championship here in season 3. At the beginning of the season, it didn't seem very likely at all. We had a good car, but I just couldn't quite keep things together to really sort of get us some decent points. But now, definitely found our rhythm, and yeah, things are definitely starting to look up for us now. So we're going to have to just, you know, keep our heads down and keep pushing and see if we can make something out of the season. But anyway, that is the Russian Grand Prix over and done with. Another victory for Cross GT Racing. Some more points, P3 in the drivers and the constructors standings. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. And I will see you guys all in the next one. I can't remember what it is, but I'll see you in whatever round it is next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.